Is everyone there in the class? I think except one person, everyone is there. Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
So, the last thing that we did was ecology. And did I complete possibilism with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I think I had completed it. Did you read the sections that I had given to all of you? The traditional knowledge. I found more additional material on my laptop with regard to ecology, but I won't upload it and overload you with work. But I just wanted to know if um, you are able to follow the PDF I had uploaded. Did anyone read at all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any problems faced by you, Vasundhara?
Ma'am, I was just able to go through the first PDF. Uh, and ma'am, no problems yet. Some places the language is a little difficult to understand. Yes, ma'am. But other than that, it's understandable. Like if I read it twice, same the line. If I read the same line twice, then it's understandable, ma'am.
You are able to follow? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Most of it is generally for you to understand, in traditional knowledge and to gain an understanding of, you know, how traditional knowledge is shaped and how it should be understood, so that if you are suppose asked to link traditional knowledge to say possibilism and give an example of any community, then you can use any of the examples given and also sort of explain and elaborate on your understanding. Are you getting my point? So it's not that I want you to sort of mug it up in terms of what is, you know, traditional knowledge. You can sort of follow what is traditional knowledge, but mostly you have to understand the overview of how traditional knowledge is significant from an ecological perspective. Okay. And I think the last thing I was doing was Julian Stewart's idea of ecology, and I had started with new ecology or not.
No, ma'am. You have to do new.
Okay, okay. So I had told you that Julian Stewart was someone who was significant in obviously he was the one who coined the term cultural ecology, and he talked about adaptations, and he talked about how uh, each culture may have so most of his publications on cultural ecology resulted in three primary observations. One was that I told you last time also that cultures in similar environment will have somewhat similar adaptations. And then the second observation that Julian Stewart had made was all adaptations are short lived and are constantly adjusting to changing environments. Okay. So all adaptations are short-lived in the sense that most of the adaptations now, again, if I go back to the example of pandemics, then I can just tell you that immediately masks were a very significant adaptation, and masks were very significant in communicating to people the importance of hygienic practices and the importance of good practices in terms of hygiene. Are you getting my point? But then slowly again we see there are so many of us in India who are taking the whole idea of using masks rather casually because they are uncomfortable, and they do not allow a person to um, they do not allow normal breathing and normal air contact, and therefore a lot of people are against wearing masks. So these kind of adaptations are generally short lived, and we really need to look at a more permanent adaptation to the ever changing environment anyway. So this was the second observation, and the third observation was that changes in culture help us in understanding existing culture, as well as sometimes they result in entirely new one. And last time also I had explained how entirely new cultures may come out of the minor changes that would take place initially. So as I told you, in Japan, I think I discussed with all of you also that in Japan it is, and Vietnam, and in Cambodia, and in many countries in the eastern part of the world, you will find that the wearing of the mask is actually a cultural thing, and it is a very normal thing. The wearing of masks for us is not very normal, but the wearing of masks for communities like, as I told you, the Japanese community, or for that matter, people who generally cover their mouth or faces, um, go and do their normal shows, are people who are very used to this. So for us it is a new culture, it is a minor change, but it is also a new culture. Okay, so Julian Stewart is the person who's responsible for coining the term cultural ecology in order to explain his approach to understanding the relationship between culture and environment, and therefore he is frequently referred to as the father of ecological anthropology or ecological studies in anthropology. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the thing is that Julian Stewart also recognized that uh, the ecological understanding between humans and environment had not just biological implications but had cultural implications, and the biological as well as cultural implications were intertwined or interconnected. There was no you can say there was no clear distinction that you could say that the culture and the biology did not mix, did not mingle. uh, Whenever we talk about environment, whenever we talk about environmental impacts on human society, we need to take into consideration that these impacts are never limited to only biology or only culture. That which is affecting our culture will have some kind of implications for our biology, and that which is affecting our biology will have some long term implications for our culture as well. And um, the only problem with Julian Stewart's way of understanding ecology was that, as always, he assumed that human beings were different from the environment. Are you getting my point? So, anyway, uh, this was something which was often used as a criticism for mm, Julian Stewart's idea of cultural ecology, because he was habitually separating the human from the domain of environment, and he was not considering human as part of the environment. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we come to the next section, which is the new ecology. Okay. Now understand that new ecology is kind of a new approach. Okay. Uh, it is something which is entwined or intertwined with the idea of systems theory. Okay. So I'll share some material with you with regard to systems theory also. It is an upcoming field of ecology, which is also known as systems ecology. And new ecology forms the part of systems ecology. And this is a reinterpretation of Julian Stewart's understanding of ecology. Okay, it was propounded by two people, Veda and Rappaport. Veda was Stewart's student, and Rappaport was the student of Julian Stewart as well as Veda. Okay, so Veda is spelled as Vayda. Okay, so it was argued by Veda and Rappaport that human cultures were not unique, but it was just something which was one unit in a ecological system. Okay, human cultures were not unique, but it was one of the population units interacting with other population units in the form of food webs, in the form of ecosystem, in the form of other communities. Okay, so this in many ways helped or led to you can say the unity of human beings with the environment. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone who's not able to understand?
Mom, your voice got cut in between. Can you please just repeat the last 2 points that you just said?
Okay. So I was just saying that new ecology is a reinterpretation of the cultural ecology propounded by um, Julian Stewart, and new ecology was something that was promoted by um, two ecologists, Veda and Rappaport. And Veda and Rappaport were also students of Julian Stewart. Rappaport was Veda and Julian Stewart's student, and these two people, like I told you, that the major criticism of Julian Stewart can be that he separated human beings from nature and environment and looked at them as a separate domain altogether. What Veda and Rappaport did was they did not separate um, the the human society from the environment, and rather they took human society as one of the units that was interacting with other units in the form in the food web, in an ecosystem, and other kinds of interactions. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask the question. I'm assuming you don't have questions, so I'll move ahead. Okay. So, as I told you, this particular approach of new ecology, what it did was that it in unified human society and human behavior into ecology, and when it did so, obviously, human behavior had greater applicability over the environment. That means a lot of what was happening in the environment could be also understood from the point of view of anthropogenic activities. uh, in as a result of this, what happened was there is a continuous analysis of human behavior from a qualitative perspective. Okay, human behavior from a qualitative perspective as well as quantitative perspective. Okay, people have cultural ecologists have actually tried to understand how how human society is interacting with nature, how human society is impacting nature, how nature is coping with human activities, all of these things, both qualitatively and quantitatively. In quantitative manner, scientific methodologies and statistical methodologies are being used to study human interaction with the ecosystem around them. And in case of qualitative studies, ethnography is being used to understand man-nature interface. Am I clear? If it is not clear, please ask me right now. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the second thing is uh, the criticism of the new ecology. Now, if you look at the criticism of the new ecology, you must understand that analysis is based on the data which is being collected through ethnography, but this particular data is something which is being recorded as a event that has taken place in a single point of time. Okay, it may not be a continuous performance of, or it may not be a continuous activity. Can you give an example of this?
Ma'am, can you
Ma'am, could
repeat
you
the question?
repeat?
Am I not audible properly?
Ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, so I was just asking that if there is the criticism is that if we are creating a qualitative or quantitative model of any event which is impacting the ecosystem due to human activity, uh, mostly it is an event or a performance at a single point in time. It is not a continuous performance, it is not a continuous behavior. So, the validity of the study or the examination gets affected or gets questioned. I just asked for an example of this.
Ma'am, one example could be the houses in Delhi, like the earlier houses in Delhi. Like one day when we discussed about the flooring that was there, sort of the mosaic flooring that was there. Uh, and the mosaic flooring was done because the cooling and heating effect it had in various climate conditions. But then because of like people's changing behavioral patterns and their own perspectives of their standards of living in what accounts for a particular standard of living, those mosaic floorings got replaced with other kinds of floorings that were more appealing to the eyes and were in accordance with people's behavior. So it was tiles, and then it changed to, some people changed to wooden flooring, and some people changed to other kinds of flooring. So it's not continuous, and it's ever changing. That we may go back again to the initial, like, traditional mosaic flooring, but that would be an example of it. It's like it's completely changing always. It's not continuous. It depends on the behavioral patterns of human beings.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else who can develop on this? Okay, so the thing is that yes, whatever Vasundhara is saying is correct. That this is how you can understand any phenomena that is happening, that is taking place in cultures. And the interesting part is that when a cultural ecologist or when uh, a ecological anthropologist tries to study something like this, then generally they are, looking at something that is happening at one point in time. Okay, now at one point in time is something where you can say that let's just take the example of the flooring, and ecologists are trying to study how many houses in Delhi, as she told just now, use a mosaic flooring, how many houses in Delhi use a marble flooring, or how many houses in Delhi use a tile or a vitrified tile system. Now, whatever data will they get is true for today, is true for, say, that point in time, but it is not going to be able to predict the past or the future. So basically, human behavior cannot be a standardized set of behaviors that can be restricted to understand the future or to understand the past. It is something which is giving you, which is true for that duration, which will give you a fair enough idea, but you cannot really create a model for future or a model for past to understand them better. Because if today somebody is suddenly somebody decides to, say, make or glamorize, for that matter, a simple mosaic flooring, and it appeals to other people and people start mimicking that particular style owing to two things, beauty and benefits, then obviously there will be again a major wave of change. And when that happens, then obviously we can't possibly say that what we studied 5 years back holds true. Even if it was a quantitative study, even if it was a qualitative study, it doesn't hold true. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Vasundhara the only person in the class? Okay.
Ma'am, I didn't understand, ma'am, like why this example is related to new ecology.
Why this example? Any example is related to ecology, Dipanshi, as long as that example has some impact on how we live and how we prioritize things in our daily life. So the other day we had some kind of discussion on how flooring styles have changed. Um, and the mosaic flooring we had discussed was something which was more sustainable and which was more environmental for us because it used to remain cool even in times of heat conditions. The marble flooring, the marble tends to have a tendency of becoming of absorbing the environment around it. So if it is winters, it will become extremely cold, and if it is summers, it has actually the capacity of becoming extremely hot. It is not something which does the opposite in terms of weather conditions. So if you look at it from a perspective of adjustment, of environmental adjustment, then you will find that probably the best kind of flooring is the non-plastered kind of flooring or kacha flooring that people have, which is renewed every 15 days in rural areas. It is it it does look non-appealing to a lot of people, owing to its simplicity and the fact that it is made of mud. But at the same time, if you go to extremely hot regions, you will realize that a kacha flooring, which is made up of mud, is more suitable ecologically for the people who do not have too much access to electricity, or for that matter, who do not have access to advanced technology like most people in urban areas. So, in order to make do with whatever they have, um, wetting a kacha floor is easy. So, in extremely hot conditions, also, they can just pour some water on the floor, and the floor will absorb that water and keep the environment cool. That is a very natural solution. Okay. Then the other solution which people have is a cemented mosaic flooring, again something which is far more suitable to hot conditions because it tends to remain cool. On the other hand, if you shift to things like a marble, it is unsuited for places that do not have a stable temperature. So extreme hotness and extreme coldness tends to affect the marble in a way where you cannot really walk barefoot if marble is exposed to extreme sunlight, heat, or if marble is exposed to extreme coldness. So ecologically, any example that affects your environment is relevant. Are you getting my point, Dipanshi? However,
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes people choose less ecologically sustainable alternatives because their priority may be beauty, aesthetics over the familiarity of the surrounding. You'll find so many people who, that natural light and air has its benefits, but if you go around looking in houses, there are so many houses in Delhi where only one room may be getting direct sunlight or direct light. Everywhere else, even in daytime, you have to turn on light. Ideally, if you want a house to be naturally sustainable and if you are living in it, then you also need to be exposed to natural elements. So if you are living 24/7 in an air conditioned compound, your body after a point will crave some exposure to sunlight. The reason being that you are a biological organism and you require that amount of environmental exposure to keep your biology going. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is why,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, Vasundhara.
Ma'am, like there were a lot of speculations with regards to people's changing behavior in this lockdown as well. So, like, given this example, like people, because we are the products, like we are biological elements of this environment only. So, like, can we assume or can we infer from that the change in behaviors and not being able to remain completely inside of our houses was because us needing the environmental sort of environmental touch to our lives, which was sort of completely abandoned for a few months.
Yes. I didn't get you. Vasundhara, can you please repeat your question? I didn't get you
uh,
completely. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, I said that like these changing behaviors, people had speculations on that, uh, like people have to stay inside their houses, so it's a little difficult for them to stay locked up completely. So
Yes.
there were other speculations, not this one. Like nobody, I haven't heard any news channel or any news article saying that since we are a biological element of this environment, that is the reason that we are unable to stay completely closed up inside our houses, because at the end of the day we need some sort of environmental touch to our life, be it sunlight, be it the outer environment.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm asking. Was it this reason leading to all the other psychological problems that people were speculating, sort of that?
Uh, of course, as you can understand, Vasundhara, um, you must know that biologically and psychologically, man is a social animal, and it is not said just for the heck of saying it. It really has deeper implications for the human society. When you will look at yourself, and when you will look at your parents, and when you will look at your grandparents, you will find a difference in terms of mental health also. You will find difference in terms of social maladjustment and social adjustments. Okay. uh, the moment you look at your behavior, you will find that, and you just can compare it with anybody in the family who is of a previous generation or even before generation. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
You just have to compare. uh, you will often find that it's not that mental health issues were not a concern in the past. It's not that people were always very well adjusted in the past. but we look at frequencies. Okay, in today's times, when we see increasing dependence of human beings on uh, technology, on other alternative forms of socialization, we tend to find, and I'm speaking as an anthropologist, not as an individual who's observing it, but as an anthropologist, what we tend to find is that coping with social phenomena, coping with social events is easier for our previous generation. They don't get nearly as agitated as the younger generation. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
adjustment to changes. um, so what are the reasons for that? Like for you and I, not as much to my generation, probably I wouldn't say that, but if you look at your generation, then you will find that there are interesting um, observations that people have in terms of you know say how there are mental health issues, and how much the youth is willing to share it, and how much the youth is unwilling to address it. Like when the lockdown began, I saw so many young people sharing on social media, how they were literally uh, crying on the camera. Like literally, there were people who were crying, there were kids who were crying on the camera. And uh, the reason was that it was causing them not just the pandemic itself, but there were other things that were causing them fear and anxiety and an uncertainty about the future. On the other hand, when I looked at myself, I was very well adjusted. I was like, okay, it's a thing that was bound to happen, and therefore it has happened, and our adjustment was quite well adjusted. Even better was the adjustment of the previous generation. Even better than my generation was the adjustment of the previous generation. Our grandparents and all were far less anxious about most of the things, because they have already had such elaborate experiences in the past, that this was something which they weren't really moved by. Are you getting my point? So, if they required any kind of movement outside the house, they would just go and sit outside in the garden or outside in the park. So, anywhere they would just go and sit and come back refreshed. On the other hand, youngsters did not know what to do. Are you getting my point? So, adjustment as social beings is something which the youngsters had to do, and not exactly, other generations as much. Children, even worse was the condition of the children who are in the age of going out and playing. So, they were very anxious. Some of them were unsure whether their parents are going to live or not, and a lot of things, because there was no clarity of situation. So, as you can understand, it has something to do with the exposure. After a point, to us, technology is just work and not really a source of indulgence, not really a source of socialization. So, most of us who are, well, looking for some kind of vent, we will go back to family and friends, and that would be physical meeting with them, and not exactly meeting on social media. So the cause of anxiety, the cause of maladjustment is less frequent in our generation, and even less frequent in other previous generations. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah. So you need to understand that as a generation, as ecological being, you can do this on your own. Stay inside for a week in AC, from morning till night. After a week, you will actually want to, out of irritation, you will actually want to turn off the AC, and you will actually want to step out of the house just for 5 minutes, just to get a break, or you will start aimlessly walking. So the reason for that is because you will be restless, okay? And you the restlessness will be because your body will be lethargic, it will be devoid of physical activity. So sometimes, even though you don't like exercises, even though you may not like some kind of physical activity, you may be the most lazy person, then also your body will crave some kind of physical activity, because that is how nature has designed human body. So in order to address that issue, you will automatically get up and start moving, because your body will start indicating that you need to do some movement. Otherwise, your joints are not going to function properly. Are you getting my point? There are so many people who are so uncomfortable with an extra 1 kg or 2 kg gain of weight. Are you getting this? So, all of this is because you are a biological, social, as well as an ecological being. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then this whole idea of
Yes.
seeing nature around you, that also, if you're very anxious, if you are not comfortable, if you are feeling a lot of stress, it is often advised have some element of nature around you. So it's not always one small plant. You can just go out and look at a tree for some time. You can just go out and look at few animals or few fellow human beings, and you will find that automatically your brain will forget that
Ma'am, you're not audible.
Ma'am had a power failure, so that's why.
am I audible to all of you?
Ma'am, now you
Yes,
are.
ma'am.
Okay, I got
Yes,
disconnected.
ma'am.
I'm connecting from my phone. So basically, this is what I wanted to tell all of you with regard to new ecology. That this was something which was a reinterpretation of Julian Stewart, but the central argument to the whole idea of ecology, which was propounded by Veda and Rappaport, was the same. But the only dissimilarity here was that Veda and Rappaport decided to address this as something which was treating human beings as the part of nature and not exactly a separate domain of nature. Okay, so as a result of this, what happened was that most of people agreed to this interpretation, but at the same time, they said that uh, qualitative and quantitative collection of data did not validate the entire course of human history and did not validate or did not help us in understanding the entire course of human history, and how humans had behaved with the ecological, with the environmental surrounding. Okay, so but obviously it was just human beings were not given any significant role, and they were not put up on a pedestal. Rather, they were treated like any other unit, and like any other, you can say, element of nature. Okay, so I'll stop here, and I will continue with the next section, but I will upload now, since I found a more basic file. I will upload that also for you to read it. I'm sure it has some material on new ecology also. Let me just look around, and then I'll continue from here. But mostly, the section on ecological theories majorly is over. Okay, I'll cover the rest in the subsequent classes, but I think next week I will give you people a test. Okay.
Ma'am, it will have marks. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it-
Now everything will carry some or the other, marking scheme, because it is a continuous assessment. So yes, it will. Okay.
and ma'am, the test will be till neo-ecology.
Yeah, till new ecology. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then I'll stop here, and